Hello, my name is Madeline Ruloff-Keruga, and my presentation will be on Down syndrome. The agenda for today's presentation is as follows. What is Down syndrome? How is it diagnosed? The long-term prognosis and developmental pathway, recommended interventions, ABA and Down syndrome, and what local resources are made available for these individuals. Down syndrome is a chromosomal abnormality characterized by intellectual challenges and caused by an extra chromosome in the 21st pair, resulting in a total of 47 chromosomes. While the general population only have 46, individuals with Downs have an extra chromosome that make them unique. There are currently 45,000 Canadians with Down syndrome who continue to thrive and achieve. Down syndrome occurs in 1 out of 800 births in all races and economic groups. It was named after John Langdon Down, who was the first physician to identify the syndrome in 1866. At that time, Down referred to the syndrome as Mongolism, a derogatory term, thankfully, no longer used today. Although there are characteristic features and changes to cognitive and motor development for people with Down syndrome, they continue to live full lives despite the outdated and often cruel perceptions. It is important to remember that while some individuals with Down syndrome may have more difficulty cognitively, others diagnosed can be so mildly affected that they live independently and are gainfully employed. Either way, everyone with Down syndrome can and do live fulfilling and happy lives. Pictured here is a fashion model, Sofia Jarau, from Puerto Rico and the first Victoria's Secret model with Down syndrome. How is Down syndrome diagnosed? It is important to be aware that Down syndrome occurs due to a random event during formation of the reproductive cells, either from the ovum or the sperm. As far as researchers are aware, a diagnosis of Down syndrome is not attributable to any behavioral activity or environmental factors. The likelihood that a reproductive cell will contain an extra copy chromosome 21 increases dramatically as a woman ages. Under 30 years of age, 1 in 1,000 will have a baby with Down syndrome. 30, it's 1 in 900. 35, 1 in 400. 42, 1 in 60. And 49, it's 1 in 12. Down syndrome is diagnosed either with testing or by the physical features that the attending physician may recognize in the delivery room. These features include flat facial profile, upward slant of the eyes, short neck, abnormally shaped ears, white spots on the iris of the eye, or a single deep transverse crease on the palm of the hand. However, not every child with Down syndrome will possess every trait to confirm a diagnosis. It is the job of the doctor to request a blood test called chromosomal karyotype. This blood test involves growing the cells from the baby's blood for about 2 weeks, followed by a microscopic visualization of the chromosomes to determine if extra material from chromosome pair 21 is present. There are 3 diagnostic tests that women can undergo during pregnancy. The first is called amniocentesis. This is the extraction of fetal cells from the amniotic fluid. It can be done at 14 to 18 weeks and no earlier. There is no risk of miscarriage. The second is chorionic villus sampling. It's the extraction of tiny amounts of fetal tissue. It is to be done no earlier than 9 to 11 weeks, and there is a 1 to 2% risk of miscarriage. The last is percutaneous umbilical blood sampling. This is the most accurate method, but carries the greatest risk of miscarriage. The umbilical tissue is tested and can be done no earlier than 18 to 22 weeks. Long-term prognosis and developmental pathway. The life expectancy for individuals with Down syndrome has increased substantially through the years. In 1929, the average lifespan of someone with Down syndrome was just 9 years old. There is no definitive lifespan for individuals with Downs, but some can live well into their 70s. With the resources made available for people with Down syndrome and their families, they have the opportunity to create meaningful relationships and eventually can marry. They can also contribute to their community by joining the workplace and are able to live semi-independent lives. Like any child, a nurturing and enriching environment that fosters child development enhances the child's ability to learn. Early intervention programs have been instrumental in providing support, information, and techniques that parents often need to feel confident and competent in parenting their child and meeting their special needs. The Canadian Down Syndrome Society has a useful tool easily accessible for individuals with Down syndrome and their families to help their school community learn more about them. It is called the Learn About Me profile and is a questionnaire to be shared, given consent, with teachers, bus drivers, and really anyone involved with a student within the school. It is important to make note that the excess material that makes up for the extra chromosome in the 21st pair is different in every individual diagnosed with Down syndrome. This means that, like other children, every child with Down syndrome has individualized potential. Down syndrome has some health issues associated with the disease, and these commonly include hearing and vision issues. Because of these issues, language and speech may be affected, and it is important that the teacher is aware and to be mindful. Parents will often teach their children sign language at an early age because learning to speak may take longer for children with Down syndrome because of low muscle tone. Using sign language can be extremely helpful for children to express their needs if they cannot form words. Not only is this concept being used to help children that are differently abled, it is also commonly used for typical children as well. Pictured to the right is a little boy named Leo. When his mother asks him to sign bear, he does. Students with Down syndrome have their own strengths, likes, dislikes, personalities, talents, and temperaments. Down syndrome is just a part of who they are. What is inclusion in the school system, and why is it important? Inclusion means that all children learn together. Inclusion learning allows students to be sociable and learn from one another and value the differences of their peers. This type of teaching is important because it allows students with Down syndrome to be a part of their school community and teaches them the important social skills needed to enter their future community and gain that independence. Individualized education programs, IEPs, exist to meet the different needs of students with Down syndrome and other differently abled individuals. It is a written plan that describes the education plan for a specific student. It includes required classroom accommodations, modified expectations, and outlines instructions and assessments for the students. The IEP is constantly being reviewed by teachers and parents in case changes need to be made. Recommended intervention. Many individuals with Down syndrome have extra needs in and out of the classroom. Intervention specialists help with the developmental needs through early childhood to adulthood. These specialists include occupational therapists, speech-language pathologists, social workers, physical therapists, psychologists, and behavior therapists, also known as applied behavioral analysts. Applied behavioral analysis and Down syndrome. Individuals with Down syndrome will sometimes have trouble speaking, and because of this will often communicate through behavior and a means to express themselves. There could be issues going on at home or physical issues that they cannot express verbally. Because of this, it is important that before concluding that there is a behavior problem, that any physical attributes are ruled out. Some individuals with Down syndrome may lash out or become stubborn simply because they do not understand what is going on or cannot communicate their needs and are frustrated. It is important that in these situations, they have helpful ways to communicate. And the best way to increase a desired behavior or decrease an unwanted behavior is with the use of positive reinforcement, a basic principle of ABA. Applied behavioral analysis is the scientific observation and analysis of behavior. Analysts will observe behavior objectively and determine a desired behavior they want to implement or change. The most used principle of ABA that can maintain and create behavior change is positive reinforcement. ABA is extremely beneficial and can be used with anyone, not just individuals with Down syndrome. Using positive reinforcement of, let's say, cleaning up after yourself, can be done by rewarding the person contingent on them exhibiting the desired behavior of cleaning. Every time they clean up after themselves, we will reward them either by giving them a high five, verbal praise, or perhaps with something tangible. Tangible objects that can be used as a reward can be determined by doing a reinforcer survey sheet and assessment to determine what acts as a reinforcer for the learner. My personal favorite is the token economy system. The method is used by rewarding the learner with tokens contingent on them exhibiting the desired behavior. Depending on how many they collect, the learner can get a larger backup reinforcer reward. Using this system acts as an incentive for the learner to engage in multiple bouts of desired behavior for the bigger reward at the end of the week. Whether diagnosed with Down syndrome or not, this technique is useful for anyone, even me with my McDonald's coffee. The local resources for individuals with Down syndrome are as follows. Sick Kids Hospital has a resource directory for individuals with Down syndrome and their families. It is a PDF file with 39 pages dedicated to listing resources available in Ontario and what they entail. Next, the Down Syndrome Association of Ontario has a Resourceful Links tab that is available, which directs you to 3 choices to choose from: health, education, and social services. Under these tabs has a number of helpful resources easily accessible online. The Halton Down Syndrome Association is a nonprofit charity with a link to local resources and all the fun activities that are going on in the Halton community, which is where I'm from. ementalhealth.ca is a great tool if you're looking for counseling and therapy, and they have services that are offered in either funded or private. MississaugaHaltonHealth.ca. This website offers resources to services throughout Mississauga, Halton, Halton Hills, and South Etobicoke by the click of a button. Next, the Halton District School Board has a community resources page that offers many resources for children. It is easily accessible, and you can click the links and it will direct you exactly where you need to go. Lastly, the Canadian Down Syndrome Society is a phenomenal nonprofit organization that has everything you need to know about Down syndrome. They offer reliable information and a feeling of connection with individuals with Down syndrome and their families throughout Canada. And they were an extremely useful resource when doing this presentation. It was important for me to choose this topic for my presentation because I am one of the lucky ones who get to have a little sister with an extra chromosome in the 21st pair. Since she's been born, she has shown us time and time again feelings of immense joy, insurmountable strength, and a love I'm lucky to know exists. As a defeater of leukemia at the young age of 3, she has taught us to not take things for granted, to live life to the fullest, and to, quote, shake your booty. If I could have just a teaspoon of her positivity, I'd live a life of pure bliss. Loving someone with Down syndrome is an absolute gift, but to have someone with Down syndrome love you is something that cannot be described unless you've experienced it. And anyone would be lucky to know that type of love in their lifetime. Thank you for listening.